Okay, and this is the time set for sentencing. Mr. Kern Smith, you were convicted of possession of methamphetamine. That is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Cornish. You can see Mr. Cornish there, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. And Mr. Cornish, have you had a chance to review the pre-sentence report with your client?
We did, Your Honor.
Do you have any additions, deletions, or corrections?
So we have some corrections to the body of the report, which really are in regards to his prior case. And the reason I bring them up specifically is because I'm afraid it might affect the court's opinion and position on this sentencing. So starting on the page labeled evaluation and plan, we are about 7 lines down on that. Underneath that title, it says he was released from the hospital a few hours later, that sentence.
Yes.
And really what my client, throughout the report, it repeatedly does this, and I mentioned it to the prosecutor, I think last week, is it accuses him of never contacting probation once he was released from the hospital over in Shiawassee, and that's simply not true. My understanding is he called them pretty much every single day for about 5 days. That being said, my client fully admitted at the plea that he has a substance abuse problem. He fell off the wagon and he began using narcotics again. But he wants the court to know that he really wanted to go back to House of Commons. He attempted to go back to House of Commons and was told he had to go through his PO, that he'd been discharged because of medical reasons. So it wasn't that he absconded from House of Commons and refused to go back or didn't contact his probation agent. Those simply were not true. He tried to go back. They told him no. In fact, I think he went back to try and get his stuff, or they gave him his stuff, like his personal possessions, but he couldn't come back in the building and check back in on his own. That has to go through probation, and he just did not connect with his agent. So throughout the report, it says it, I think 3 or 4 times. It's in this paragraph. It's in the last paragraph on this page, and about middle, it says failed to contact his probation agent. It's in the first paragraph of the following page. It's on the following page under recommendations. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that's the next issue. I highlighted the ones I wanted to correct. So basically what he wants to get across is while those are intermittently through there, he contests that he didn't contact them. I believe he says he tried 5 times. And then upset, frustrated, not knowing what to do, panicking, he turned back to bad habits. And that was wrong. He really wants treatment in lieu of jail. So I'll save a lot of that for the allocution, but that was the big issue he had with the report.
Okay, so I'm just debating on how I should correct this. I assume you're asking for a correction?
Yes, I would guess I'd either ask that it be added that he challenges that he didn't contact them as a singular line, or to have that stricken to where it says he didn't contact them, and I can go through each one if you'd like.
Well, how about this? That first sentence where it says, the first one you pointed to, where it says he was released from the hospital a few hours later, I could put, but was unable to be readmitted to House of Commons and could not successfully contact his probation agent. Is that acceptable?
That would be great, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, just give me a second here to write that in.
So
that will be the same correction I'll make at the bottom of the page with the sentence that starts, he left the House of Commons.
it's the fourth line down, failed to contact his probation agent on the same page. Should say was unable to contact his probation agent. So just changing failed to what's unable. And then on the next page, it said did not It's the third line down, would also say was unable to contact instead of did not. And that's all the ones I see. And I had one other correction or objection, I guess, to the report.
Okay.
On criminal justice, 1 of 5. It talks
Yes.
about a old civil infraction, possibly misdemeanor. And this is something I brought up to the prosecutor. My client has no idea what this is. He says he's never been in trouble for fireworks in his life. He has no idea where this even came from. I don't think it affects the scoring or anything. I just don't, if it's not his, it's not his. And he kind of objects to that. So he doesn't know if maybe somebody got a ticket and used his name. And he plans when he gets out of jail and custody to try and figure out why this keeps popping up on him. But he objected, I think, previously to it, and it keeps popping up on his PSIs. And doesn't know where it came from. So I guess we just put in there objection by the defense.
Well, Ms. Allen, how about we strike it?
I'm fine with that, Your Honor. It's a civil infraction anyways and doesn't have an impact on scoring.
Right.
The only reason I was concerned is it said ordinance misdemeanor. I didn't know what.
I know.
And I didn't know what that meant, civil infraction ordinance misdemeanor.
I don't think it can be both a civil infraction and a misdemeanor, so it makes no sense. Okay, and that was your last correction?
That's all to the body of the report. We have no objections to the scoring of the guidelines.
Scoring of the guidelines. Did the people have any corrections to the report or objections to scoring?
No, Your Honor.
And did the people wish to be heard?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, and then Mr. Cornish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I did talk with Mr. Kern-Smith about this case a lot, even though it's been primarily via video chat. But I met with him. We talked a lot again last week, and we spent about an hour going over this report and kind of really explaining what had happened here. He fully admits he has an addiction problem and he has a substance abuse problem. That's not even in question here. I think there was some miscommunication between him not wanting to do treatment. He was concerned that they were going to put him back in House of Commons where he might get kicked out and then end up back in jail again. And that's kind of what he was trying to get across to them. He's certainly willing to do treatment and is certainly willing to get into that as soon as possible. So he wants to make sure that's very clear to the court. Primarily, what I really liked about this recommendation is that they're recommending not that he do an entire year in jail or a year minus his credit, but instead we try and do one more chance at getting him to complete a treatment program. And I really think that's an appropriate thing here. He had a serious medical condition that people at the House of Commons thought was a heart attack. And it turned out it was a stress-related incident, possibly some sort of a coming down type thing. And the hospital released him and he was lost, not knowing what to do, not able to reach his probation agent, panicking because he's afraid they're going to come arrest him, and fell off the wagon. And I think rather than us going, well, you know what, let's just throw him in the jail for a year and be done with him, maybe put him on probation. Let's see if we can't get him the treatment he needs, see if we can't get him into the program. So I'd ask the court to strenuously consider adopting the recommendations here, get him treatment, not let him sit here. He's already done 9 months, I think, approximately with Shiawassee over this incident of getting out. He was sentenced to, I think, 9 months. We probably have some good time or something in there, but he's done a chunk of time for basically the same exact underlying behavior that we need to correct, which is his drug use. And just locking him up for a year in our county jail, especially given the current state of affairs with the outbreak actually in our jail now, I don't think it's a good idea to transfer him from one jail to another jail where now he's facing even more serious consequences when what he has is an addiction. So that's what we would ask the court to do. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kern-Smith, what would you like to say?
I don't have a whole lot more to add to Mr. Cornish's spiel there. I do agree with about 90% of everything he said. Actually, no, 100%. I'm sorry.
You can disagree with 10% of it. It's okay.
I mean, I don't have any disagreements. I prefer if I could add one minor change. I'm not so much interested in like an extreme treatment. I'm more looking at maybe like an intense outpatient treatment so I can be out with my kids. I'm not opposed to any treatments that the court orders, because right now I'm kind of at the mercy of the court. But I'm trying to do better. I want to do better, and I have the skills to do better from the previous treatment at the House of Commons. Currently, I have been given the time here in Shiawassee County to stay abstinent from the drugs, so I've been able to have a clear thought process coming into this sentencing, and I know I made some bad decisions, poor choices leading to bad decisions, and I just ask that, you know, the court shows a little mercy, and you know, I'm here accepting whatever punishment deemed necessary by Your Highness. Yeah, I do feel remorse for what I have done bad, and I would like to get better, based upon any, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you said that it's hard to talk on Zoom. But you said that when you were at the House of Commons, you did get some skills that would help you do better. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, Your Honor. I was taking every class that they made us, including some moral recognition training and anger management, as well as a couple other things. I cannot remember the name of the courses, but they're required while an inpatient there. And I was there for a total of 48 days. And in that time, I met with every counselor there, even though I had one specific one. I met with every counselor, therapist that they had there, and I learned an immense amount about how to manage coping skills, how to set up a support system on staying clean and sober, and have since, even though incarcerated, have since set up a support system, including really close friends that want to see me do better, and family that they don't want to see me on drugs. They don't want to see me go down this path anymore. So they're all waiting for me to get out of jail so that I can go and do better. Right now, the only thing I can practice is abstinence inside the jail, which 125 days sober, woohoo. And I'd like to keep going with that, and that would help not to be incarcerated, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense. I just wanted to explore the fact that in the pre-sentence report, it says that you said that you didn't believe treatment would help. But I just heard you talk about how treatment helped very much, and you named off several different skills and coping mechanisms that you learned from the House of Commons that are real concrete ways of dealing with this. So I'm hearing
Yes, Your Honor.
Treatment helps a lot.
I agree. Treatment does help a lot. I put in the pre-sentence report that further treatment wouldn't work, is what I was getting at, but that's because I feel like I've already gotten out of treatment what I could get. So I just wanted to make sure that was, because no, I believe you are correct. Treatment was very, very helpful.
I'm not trying to be correct. I'm just trying to get you to work through it and see that, you know, you can do this and that treatment does help. And although you say that, well, you said that you want to be with your kids, I assume you had access to your kids when you were out before, and yet you relapsed. So maybe we need to look at this in from a different angle. And that is that it's not really having access to your kids that keeps you on the straight and narrow. It's the skills and tools that you learn in treatment, and that you have to keep working on those, because after you learned them at the House of Commons, you got out and you still relapsed. Does that make sense?
That all makes sense, Your Honor. I do understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And I have no disagreements to it.
Okay. Yeah, I just want you to see that, I mean, there's hope, and you know, you can keep working this and doing it, but you have to keep working it. You can't just give up on it.
Right.
You know, people don't do it perfectly the first time around. Sometimes people don't do it perfectly the second or the third or the fourth time around. But that doesn't mean you stop working at it and say that it won't do anything further for me. So I would like to see you, for the sake of you and your kids, continue to work on those tools that they taught you at the House of Commons, because those are the right tools and you know them. You just told them to me, and you are 100% correct on everything you said, as far as how you do this. So you've got to then just put it into practice and do it. I am going to put you on probation for a period of 18 months, 125 days in jail with credit for 125 days served. You have to pay $130 to the Crime Victims Fund, $68 in state costs, oversight fees in the amount of $180 payable at the rate of $10 a month, costs in the amount of $500 based on the State Court Administrative Office calculated average cost of a criminal case in Ingham County. And then I'll just run through your other conditions of probation, Mr. Kern-Smith. Obviously, you may not use or possess alcoholic beverages or controlled substances or have drug paraphernalia or use medical marijuana, and you must comply with both drug and alcohol testing as your agent directs. You must complete outpatient or residential substance abuse treatment as referred to you by your agent, and you must complete a substance abuse assessment if your agent refers you to that. You must complete an MRT program, and maybe I think you mentioned already doing some of that at House of Commons or in the jail, I can't remember which, but you can keep working on those issues. You must waive confidentiality and allow any treatment program that you're in to disclose information about you to your agent. You must not engage in any assaultive, abusive, threatening, or intimidating behavior. You may not have any contact with anyone you know to have a felony record. You can't possess a weapon while you're on probation. You must comply with the written and verbal orders of your agent. Let the agent into your home at any time. Submit to a search of your person or property without needable warrant. Report any changes to your agent within 24 hours. You have to have your driver's license suspended for 1 year, and you may not drive a motor vehicle while your license is suspended. And you may reside in Shiawassee County with your probation being transferred to Shiawassee County if that's where you're living. So when you finish your sentence there, you should be good to go. And we're going to take a shot at outpatient so that you can remain with your family and continue working on those tools that you told me about. But we're leaving residential open if it doesn't work out. Okay?
I understand.
Good. Mr. Kern-Smith, you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and your sentence in this matter. You're entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. If you're making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. There's a form that explains more about that and that you use to make that request, and we will mail it to you out at the jail. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, and you are all set. You can tell them there at the jail you're done.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. And then next one is not yours, Mr. Cornish, right?
Nope. I will see you at 3 o'clock in person, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, great. Look forward to it.
Got an in-person sentencing.
Yep. Okay. Can you hear me, Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Okay, and we have Mr. Perone. You can hear me too?
I can.
Great. Okay, this is People of the State of Michigan versus John Bailey, docket number 20-232FH. And this is the time set for sentencing. Mr. Bailey, can you just confirm for me that you're okay with doing the sentencing remotely rather than coming into the courtroom?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. And you were convicted of resisting and obstructing a police officer. That is a felony punishable by up to 2 years in prison. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Perrone. And Mr. Perrone, have you had a chance to go through the pre-sentence report with your client? You're muted.
I have, Your Honor. Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And do you have any additions, deletions, or corrections?
I have a few corrections. On the face sheet, his date of birth is incorrect. His date of birth is actually 8/26 of 96.
Okay, let me just see. If that's wrong. Oh, yeah, that's how it shows on the information as well. Okay, I've changed that.
Under HIDA, it says no. Or change that to yes per the
Wait, where are you?
kilograms. On the face sheet,
Oh, still on the face sheet, Haida, no. Got it.
on the first page of the evaluation and plan,
Yes.
the fourth paragraph down on 5/11/20, the defendant pled guilty to count 2, counts 1 and 3 were dismissed. Counts 1 and 3 were dismissed at the prelim and were not part of the agreement.
Yes, 1 and 3 were dismissed. Pled guilty to counts 3. Okay, so it should just say he pled guilty to count 2.
Correct.
Got it.
That's all I have for the body of the report.
Any objection to the scoring of the guidelines?
I have one objection. It's a simple one. I didn't catch up with the prosecutor beforehand because I just caught it, but OV 12 is scored at 5 points for one contemporaneous felonious assaults. Don't think the 5 should be scored as the felonious assault charge was dismissed at the prelim. So I don't see there being any other concurrent
No.
offense.
Ms. Allen?
I would agree with that, Your Honor, since it was dismissed
Right.
at prelim.
So that should be 0. Anything else on the
Correct.
guideline? Yeah.
That changes the OV to 20 to level 2 instead of level 3. Changes the guidelines to 0 to 9 months.
Well, I think though, because OV level 3 is 16 points and above on G for person offense. I don't think it changes the guidelines.
Let me see.
This is class G.
You scored 25.
Level 3 is anything over 16 points.
Hmm.
I think you were looking at the PRV section, Mr. Perrone. Because then it would have bumped him down to a different
Correct,
level.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, I looked at that wrong.
Right, so he's still a B3.
Right.
Okay. And so we have a guideline range of 0 to 11, just like they had calculated. Okay, and then Ms. Allen, did the people have any corrections to the report or objections to scoring?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
And did the people wish to be heard?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Perrone?
Yes, Your Honor. My client, 23 years old. He's been with Orchid for the last 3 years, working as a machinist. Plans on furthering his career by going to a trade school. As far as Haida, we would request that he be given that opportunity so that it doesn't interfere with his ability to go to trade school. The prior offense where he has already received Haida was a lot lower level offense. And again, I think based on the plea and the recommendation that Haida would be appropriate in this case. Beyond this, it seems there's an underlying problem here, and it appears, as so often it is, that alcohol is the culprit. People make bad decisions when they're drinking. As far as the pre-sentence report is concerned, there's an acknowledgement on the part of the defendant here that he wants to make a change and he's open to treatment. And he acknowledges that he has a problem and that it's caused him problems. He's still very young and has his entire life ahead of him and more mistakes to make. But going forward, if he just chooses to avoid alcohol, he'll probably make fewer mistakes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bailey, what would you like to say?
I just want to apologize, first of all. I wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for the alcohol. And yeah, I just want to apologize again for wasting the court's time on this.
Well, thank you, but it's not a waste of my time. One, this is my job, and two, it's really about your life. And sometimes, a felony is a good thing for people because it brings to light, in a way not brought to light before, what the issue really is. And if we can attack it then before it gets really out of control, which, even this situation could have been a lot worse. But if we can attack it now, and when you're eligible for YTA, keep the felony off your record, address the underlying issue, then it's all good, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as, it sounds to me like you're open to this idea that alcohol is the culprit here, and it needs to be addressed. If this was like one time that you got in trouble and alcohol was related to it, I'd say maybe not, it's the culprit. But I'm looking back and seeing that this is at least the second time that there's been a problem directly associated with alcohol. So this is the time to take it seriously for what it is and address it, because like I say, it's your first potential felony and it can end up not being that if you successfully complete YTA. So that'll be our focus on probation, is to address the alcohol issue. And I will grant your petition for treatment under the Holmes Youthful Trainee Act and place you on probation for a period of 18 months, 2 days in jail with credit for 2 days served. You have to pay $130 to the Crime Victims Fund, $68 in state costs, oversight fees in the amount of $180 payable at the rate of $10 a month. Costs in the amount of $500 based on the State Court Administrative Office calculated average cost of a criminal case in Ingham County. Additional conditions of probation are, of course, no alcoholic beverages or being in bars or other places where alcohol is sold for consumption on site, no use or possession of controlled substances, medical marijuana, or drug paraphernalia. Comply with both drug and alcohol testing as your agent directs. Complete a substance abuse assessment if your agent refers you to that. Complete whatever outpatient or residential substance abuse treatment your agent deems is appropriate. You must not engage in any assaultive, abusive, threatening, or intimidating behavior. No contact with anyone you know to have a felony record. You can't possess a weapon while you're on probation. You must comply with all the written and verbal orders of your agent. Let the agent into your home at any time. Submit to a search of your person or property without need of a warrant. Report any changes to your agent within 24 hours. Make genuine efforts to find and maintain employment a minimum of 30 hours per week, or school or trade school, whatever you're in, as long as it amounts to 30 hours per week of your time. And you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and your sentence in this matter. You are entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. If you're making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. There is a form that you fill out for that if you want to do that. And we will, it's called appellate advice of rights or appellate rights, and we will mail it to you. Okay, do you have any questions, Mr. Bailey?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, good luck, and you will be contacted by probation, hopefully in 24 or 48 hours, or you should contact them if you don't hear from them, because they gotta get you going on probation, okay?
Okay,
Good luck.
awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor. You didn't want to do the appellate rights on the record, did you?
No,
Have
we
him initial?
don't do appellate rights on the record. We mail
Okay.
them.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
So each sentencing, I emailed them a copy of the appellate right form that may have been what Roe just asked you about.
Okay,
So they were supposed to print it out and give it to the client and have the initial
got
on the
it.
record.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Milks.
Hello, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
How are you?
Oh, dandy. How are you?
I'm fine. Is Mr. Davis with you?
He's not currently here with me. We just got off the phone and I had to give him directions again to our office. He was here last time. I believe he's on his way, Your Honor. I do. I don't know if it'd be okay to, I'm texting someone to see if they'll sit in my office in case he calls again to get the phone.
Okay, then I will, first of all, I'll stop